Welcome to The Culture. We rest at the pulse of the community, providing all things news, music, fashion, events, and everything that we talk about in between. It's a lifestyle. We are The Culture. Miami-Dade, we are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. There are everyday actions that we can take to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, including wear a mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing, stay home when you're sick, and get tested. Get tested whether or not you have symptoms. Even if you think you're healthy, you can still infect others. Free tests are available at Miami-Dade County testing sites. Private test sites may bill your insurance or charge a fee. To find a testing site and make an appointment online, visit miamidade.gov/COVID-testing. Hi, and thank you for another edition of The Culture. I'm your host, Jessica Garrett Modkins, and I'm so thankful to bring to the show today DJ Fly Guy. Hey.
What's happening?
How are you?
I'm good. Rested. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday. You've been staying busy doing your COVID thing. I love it.
Yeah, I've been trying to stay busy and stay sane.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part.
You know?
Part right there. That part right there. Let's start about where you started. You're from here, right?
Well, no, I was actually born in Guyana in South America.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in Guyana. And then my family, we moved to Brooklyn for a few years. And then I moved to Miami. So I'm kind of a hodgepodge combination of three very major influences culturally between Guyana, New York City, and then, of course, Dade County.
Right. You graduated from Killian.
I did. Cougar Pride.
That's right. That's right. The K. And then I want to now talk about professionally. I just wanted to let everybody know that you were a Killian Cougar. Really, that's all it boiled down to. At the end of the day, it was just about
Killian Cougar and a FAMU Rattler.
And a Rattler, yes. On the highest of seven hills. Is that
yes, 7 hills?
Yeah. And now you are an entertainer. I knew you as a host and MC. We hired you a few times, and the best time, in my opinion, was the Super Bowl party that you did.
Thank you.
Yeah. We had fun that night, and now you have been able to launch your creativity in a number of different ways, and a lot of that is what I was alluding to earlier about staying busy during COVID. I saw a lot of ads, and you may have been doing this before, but I saw a lot of ads for your clothing line. Now, when did that officially launch?
That's launched a few times over the years. It's only that now that my DJ life has somewhat, been a little condensed, for obvious reasons, that I'm able to put more focus and time on it. But I actually started my very first t-shirt line while I was still at Killian. So over the years, it's kind of morphed into different things, but now I'm at the point now where it has an official name, it's trademarked, it's branded as Starbird is the name of it. This is one of the pieces I'm wearing now. This is the 80s baby shirt. It's kind of like a throwback VHS, laser style.
Yeah.
So throughout COVID, I was able to kind of restructure and revamp the concept of what I wanted my merchandise collection to be. And then I did 2 pop-up shops, one in July and then one in September, just to kind of reintroduce the brand to people that might not have known that I've been involved in fashion for some time now. Actually, I used to, after FAMU, I went back to New York for 10 years and I was designing clothes at Mecca. I know a lot of people might not remember Mecca clothing line. Some of us do.
Well, the 70s and the 80s babies definitely remember Mecca.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right. So, I had a short tenure there designing, and then I ended up having some of my stuff worn on HBO, The Wire, if you remember that show, The Wire. And I was part of the ad campaigns and everything. So I've always had the fashion bug in me, to design, because everything I do, I design myself. which takes a lot of time and effort and energy, but it's all from thought to execution. So during COVID, I had a chance to say, okay, I want to kind of reintroduce, my creativity in a fashion sense to the people, and that's I created a whole new collection called Starbird, and that's what I've been working on in addition to, everything else, all my other interests.
So how did you begin in I know you talked about doing your first t-shirt line in high school, but how did you really realize to some of the people who may be looking at this show, and it may be a student or a parent, how did you recognize what your gift and talent was so young on, and to be able to kind of nurture it?
Um, I don't really know when. I can't really pinpoint when. I always knew that two things. I always knew that I was creative in whatever, because to me, I looked at us as two things. You're either extremely book smart and oriented and regimented that way, or you're on the other spectrum and you're highly creative and into just doing things, breaking things down, building things, drawing things, etc. And I've always been leading towards that scale from young. When I was in fifth grade, I guess the earliest I can remember about exploring my creativity is when my fifth grade teacher said, because I used to write stories, and he would let me read my stories to the class on Friday afternoons and during the last 30 minutes of class. So, at 11 years old, I'm here in my classroom with an audience that's sitting there listening to me read a story that I wrote at home. So that's kind of like the earliest memories of me being, a creative person. And I was always of the mindset of, I think I'm cool. I think I'm stylish. What I design looks good. If you don't like it, something wrong with you. So that's always been my approach to it. And, with anything, you develop a confidence in it and you cultivate it and you practice it. And like you say, you nurture it. And eventually you can't deny talent, or you can't deny quality, or you can't deny creativity. So, I developed that mind state early on, and just it's helped me, stay focused and stay the course.
Nice. And then how does that marry with you being an orchestrator and creating soundtracks for events? How did that happen?
If you, I heard someone say a long time ago, I think it was another DJ, I can't remember who it was specifically, but he said a hit is a hit is a hit, talking about a hit record. So in theory, it doesn't matter how old the song is. It doesn't matter the tempo of it. If it's a hit record, it's a hit record. You should be able to mesh any song from any era, any genre together the right way if you want to tell a story, a musical story. I've always been someone who prided my DJ sets on telling a story. I want somebody on the dance floor and in the audience to feel like, I get that. I understand why this song came after this one and where he's going with it. Not that you can predict the song that's going to play, but you can recognize the feeling that you feel. Mm-hmm. And I think part of what separates me from a lot of other DJs is because I really, really care about and I'm concerned about how the people, the audience feels about what I'm doing. A lot of DJs, they really don't care about, they're just there to get $1 and get a check, and they don't care if the songs mesh well. They don't care if they blend. They don't care if people leave, they're happy. They're just there to do a job and keep it moving. And I'm actually have a vested interest in every single event that I do, whether it was 13 years ago when I started or today. It's the same passion.
Mm-hmm. And then now, this other aspect of yourself, I could see this happening. You actually are a lyricist.
Yes.
Tell us.
I was a lyricist first before DJing. I started DJing at 28 years old. So I have a whole decade of struggling to sign a record deal and be an artist, prior to that. So I think one thing that kind of helped my DJ career or style that people were drawn to is I took the same energy that I would use performing songs on stage, and I carried that over into the DJ world. So it's a very animated, very charismatic performance that you get from me, as opposed to me just standing up there and just playing song for song and looking very dry. I actually act like I'm performing my music, which I still record and make to this day. So yeah, I was a lyricist first from 14 years old, and I had chances to sign record deals in the past, when I was interning in Def Jam, and it didn't go the route that I wanted it to go back then, but I'm still an independent artist, still releasing music under my own company. And to me, that's enough for me at this point.
Mm-hmm. And then another aspect of you, I've seen you with a camera in your hands, and I've seen you taking pictures, and I've also seen you shooting video at the event that we did earlier this year over in North Miami. You were shooting film. Tell us about this aspect of you. The reason why I'm bringing all of these things out is because many of us who are on the creative end of the spectrum, we are multifaceted, and people like to put you in a box, which is something that makes them feel comfortable about who you are. So when I introduced you, I said, he's an entertainer, because you are not subject.
Yes.
Exactly. So let's talk about you behind the lens.
So the thing that I want people to really understand about that aspect of my creativity is that while I was at Killian, I chose photography as my elective class. And it was one of only 2 A's that I ever received my entire scholastic career, from grade school to FAMU. I only ever got 2 A's. One was in Spanish class. The other one was my photography class. So my interest in photography actually came from the movie Love Jones. Because if you remember, in the beginning of Love Jones, they showed these still black and white images, right? And I was instantly drawn to them, as a child. I was 16 years old when I saw that movie. And in the movie, Lorenz Tate's character, while he's meeting Nia Long's character, he looks at some of her work and he says, "Oh, this kind of reminds me of stuff Gordon Parks was shooting for Life magazine." So then, you do your due diligence and you research and find out who Gordon Parks is. And then you're like, oh, wow, he's an incredible, photographer and director and everything, which he started taking photos at the age of 25. So he kind of got a late start into that also. A lot of people might not realize that. So my passion for photography started in high school, just like fashion. But as I said, my life went a different route. So I never got to explore that path until COVID. And when COVID hit and I couldn't DJ anywhere and I wasn't making any money and I got severely depressed and just in a bad place mentally. And I just grabbed my camera one day that I hadn't touched in years. And I took a bike ride and I was riding around and let me just start snapping photos, just because I don't have anything else to do. So why not? And it was an instant reconnection and rekindling of a passion to what it felt like to take a photo, to capture a moment. Because I spent the last decade as an entertainer being photographed and being videotaped, so it was like a whole now different feeling of, I want to capture the moment. I still feel like I have an eye for it. Let me see, which as people are going to learn and find out, it's morphed into this exhibit that I'm having and this book that I have coming out, To Miami with Love.
Yes, and we're going to get into it. I don't want to glaze over something in your self-reflexive moment that you just had in regards to Love Jones and the and how Lorenz Tate was talking to Nia Long, and then it took you away from the film to research who Gordon Parks was. There is such responsibility when you are behind the microphone, when you are behind the lens, the camera, because you can kind of dictate to other people almost an opinion and unsolicited. They didn't ask for your opinion, but you can kind of give it to them. And I think that is what we can expect from your wonderful exhibit that you have launching tomorrow, To Miami with Love, from your perspective. And all of this it's still photography and it's a book, right?
Yeah.
Tell us
Yeah.
about it.
It's a 256 page coffee table book.
Wow.
That's huge. It's 11 by 14. And it's Miami's quarantine life. So it's all images that I've spent the past 8 months gathering in this new normal of the city that we live in, that we call home. And it ranges, it's everything from the George Floyd protests to supply runs at a grocery store, and everything in between. There's so many different images just showing what life in totality is like for us now here. Because Miami is known for being a city, they say New York City is the city that never sleeps, but Miami is really the city that never sleeps, especially coming from an entertainer where our clubs are open till 5 a.m. every night and everything. And so to have an overnight shutdown of all of that, the city just looks and feels different. And it's almost eerie, driving through South Beach and no one is out. I mean, it's a little different now, but in April, it was a dead zone. There was nobody around. Wynwood, there was nobody on the streets. And it freaks you out a little bit because you're so accustomed to seeing hundreds of people every day and all night. And then to go literally overnight to none of that, I said, oh, this needs to be captured and documented and immortalized. Mm-hmm. Because 20 years from now, when people talk about, well, where were you when the pandemic of 2020 hit? I wanted to have a visual reference point for this moment in time, because this really is history.
It is. It's historic. And the one time that you would see the city shut down and not have people out and about is during a national disaster. Like for Hurricane Andrew back in the 90s, that there weren't people out, but guess what? The whole city it looked like a set from a movie. It was torn apart. But for you to be able to capture Miami at a still moment in its beauty and essence, which completely contradicts the state of the world within itself, is just remarkable. Tell us some other images that we can see in the book.
So you'll see, you'll definitely see. How can I describe it? I'm trying to be politically correct. Some less fortunate people, some, living conditions wise, you'll see some structure. It's not all people, it's structures also, things that have been dilapidated, and things that used to be filled with people. I don't want to say what I captured, but if you can imagine things that used to be filled with people that are now empty or closed or barred off, or because your last memory of these certain places, if you're a particular person, your last memory of it and what you're going to see in the book is going to be a stark contrast. It just, it's hard. It's really, it runs the gamut. It's very well-known structures. It's well-known people also, and then it's people that are random. So it's a real hodgepodge and mixture of all things Miami. And different parts of Miami too, from downtown to down south.
And tell us about what's going to happen tomorrow. What time does it start? What can people expect? For those people who are last minute, where can they go and buy tickets? Give us everything.
So tomorrow is the exhibit. And so what the exhibit is 10 specific images that I took from the book that I got framed for my pop-up art gallery at the Conrad Hotel. And the Conrad was gracious enough to give me their space to say, hey, you want to have an art show? Feel free to use our space. So there's 10 images from the book that are if you want to look at it like a movie trailer, they kind of give you an insight into what's in the whole project. And then so I was able to do very limited invite because of COVID restrictions, obviously. But it's where I'm going to be unveiling the book because people haven't seen the book yet. Some people know what's coming. I haven't really put it out there like that, but some people know. But tomorrow you'll see, it'll be right there in your face, on a mantle, on an easel. And I will have copies there for sale for people to actually purchase because this book is a collector's edition.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so these are all signed and numbered by me, by hand.
Tell us, how can we get tickets?
You can go to miamivithlove.com and there'll, buttons that will take you to where you can get the tickets. So.
And then for those people who are viewing who may not be able to come to your exhibit tomorrow, but still want to purchase the table book, they can go to that site as well.
Same website, to miamivithlove.com/shop. And
then you also have a trailer.
Yes. It's I describe it as a short film, even though it's in trailer style, but it's a short film where people have asked me, is this true? Like what they see in it, is it true or are you acting? And I basically say, I'm taking what's happening in my real life and I'm adding a feel of dramatization to it, but it's 100% truth. So everything that you see in this trailer, if it's an eviction letter and, stuff like that's all what I've been dealing with all through quarantine. Like many of my friends, especially my fellow DJs, and hospitality entertainment workers. It's been.
Is there anything else that you would like for us to know that you haven't already told us?
I think my main thing for people always to know about me is that, like you mentioned before, how people try to put you in a box for their own comfort. I'm the type of person that say, I want you to put me in a box so I can kick it open. So meaning everything that I do, I'm doing with 100% pure love and a pure heart. And it's coming from a good place with all good intention. And this is not something that I just decided to pick up a camera as a new hobby and try to, get some money or do it. No, this is coming from a passion I developed at a very young age. And like with everything else that I do in life, it's coming from a pure place. And I really feel like people are going to respond well to it, receive it well, and support it. Like they've supported me for years with my music, with my events, my DJing, my merchandise, etc. This is just another extension of that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing the book. I'm like the rest of you. I haven't seen it either. So I'm excited about seeing it. And don't forget to go to miamivithlove.com to learn more about the exhibit tomorrow, to purchase the book, to see the short film, and to just be a part of all of the things that Fly Guy has going on. And of course, come back tonight at 6 p.m. where you can tune in live to My Two Cents. It'll be me and the gang, and we appreciate you. This is another edition of The Culture. Thank you for joining us.
The Culture is produced and owned by Hip Rock Star Media and cannot be reproduced or broadcast without written consent by Jessica Garrett Modkins. All rights reserved 2020.